Alan gently placed his bow on the ground and carefully drew his Glock 20, chambering around before assuming a vigilant stance, straining to listen to his surroundings. Suddenly, an unsettling noise emerged from the nearby woods, as if thunder were crashing through the thicket, and then a menacing growl and snarl, followed by a woof-like sound. Alan couldn't pinpoint its exact location. The direction of the sound eluded him. Moments later, he heard another crashing noise, this time from behind him. He swiftly spun around, Glock in hand, only to be met with the sight of a massive grizzly bear charging towards him from approximately 15 yards away, closing the gap rapidly. What's up, guys? Iceman here. So this is one of the most horrendous grizzly bear attacks that I've covered on this channel yet. And this really just happened recently. But before I get into it, I'd like to thank you guys for all your support on this channel. And if you will, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit the bell so you're notified next time I post a video. And if you want to support me further, you can become a channel member or a patron. Links in the description below. So let's get into this chilling tale. The midday sky brought to life the beautiful landscape just south of Big Sky, a popular resort area about 55 miles north of Yellowstone National Park. Alan and his buddies were out for their second day of elk hunting, and the four men had split up, each going their own way, in pursuit of the elusive trophy creatures. Alan, with his Oneida Eagle Phoenix bow in hand, walked along the edge of one of the various hidden lakes. The hidden lakes are a series of 8 lakes in Gallatin County, Montana, on the west slope of the Gallatin Range in south-central Montana. The lakes are located at the head of Hidden Creek, a tributary of Portal Creek and the Gallatin National Forest. His eyes glistened over their beauty. They seemed to him like the work of God, with the mountainous Gallatin Range beyond. He took it all in the best he could, knowing this is what he came for, an escape from his evening grind as a sales rep back at home. The water near his feet was crystal clear. The late summer daffodils were still in bloom. Alan could sense through his nostrils the tranquility of peace and solitude, the smell of life abundantly. He held tightly to his bow as he carefully navigated toward the dense tree line, in search of a spot to sit and wait, and listen, and be. And then, the faint smell of flowers and water was quickly overcome by a foul odor, a decay, the smell of something dead, like a rotting animal carcass. Alan didn't think much of it at the time, and the 27-year-old made his way to a trailhead, the scent getting stronger. He stopped to take a breath, as silence seemed to fill the area around him. The chirping chickadees and cardinals, for whatever reason, seemed to cease. Suddenly, the sound of something large crashing through the thicket behind him took his full attention. He turned and saw nothing, and the sound was gone for but a moment. The trees were thick and broad, leaving not much for visibility. It sounded like a train coming through the forest, or a large tree branch colliding with the ground. But now, nothing. He gently laid his bow on the ground, unholstered his Glock in 10mm, racked around into the chamber, and stood silent, listening. Something like a warning sound came from the woods, a growl of a sort, or a snarl, and then a woof. Alan couldn't make it exactly where, but it was near him. He couldn't tell from what direction the sound came. He heard the crashing sound again, behind him, and spun around with his Glock to see a hulking grizzly bear coming at him from about 15 yards and gaining quickly. Alan lifted his arms with no time to aim and got off 3 shots, the bullets zipping through the thin air, 2 piercing the beast in the shoulder and hump, the other out into the forest. Before he could take a 4th shot, the giant bear tackled him to the ground, pushing his body down and knocking the pistol from his hands as he flew backward. It was like time flashed forward, and Alan found himself flat on his back with the monster on top of him, snarling and drooling as it dug its yellow fangs into the man's flesh. Its massive jaws gripped the place between Alan's neck and shoulder, and it picked him up off the ground and flung him over its shoulder, ripping his trapezius from the bone and flinging the man into the air as he spun violently, flailing his wrecked body as it slammed back into the ground. The man screamed in agony. The pistol was nowhere to be seen, and the bear charged at him again. The bear was so heavy and thick, its entire body felt as though it were made of wood. Alan knew his efforts were futile against it as he swung and kicked at the determined beast. But why did it attack him? Suddenly, a thought came to his mind. The rotting smell he'd noticed moments before the attack. This certainly can't be a predatory attack. The bear was defending its kill, Alan thought to himself as the bear ravaged his body. He curled up the best he could into a ball, and the bear all the more pulled and tugged at his limbs, trying to pry him apart again and rip his head off. His body shook violently as the creature stood atop him, pressing his face into the dirt and rocky ground, cutting up his cheek and face. The bear placed a massive forepaw on his head and began thrusting it into the ground, nearly crushing Alan's skull. It raked its claws into his back as he clenched his body tightly together, no longer fighting back, just holding his breath and praying it would end soon. The bear continued to recklessly maul the feeble man's body, tearing gaping wounds into his flesh with its 5-inch yellow claws. Alan covered his bloodied face and neck, and suddenly the bear stopped. It stood over the man, breathing heavily, taking a few glances around the woods, as if it were seeing if there were another threat nearby, similar to the one it just neutralized. And then, miraculously, the bear began to walk away. Alan was able to watch the creature as it staggered. He lay there perfectly still and wondering if the bear was even fazed by the 2 rounds it took moments prior to the attack. He wondered if it would come back to maul him again. He wondered if he would live. Alan managed to call for help after the bear had left, and emergency crews used a helicopter to fly the injured young man to a nearby hospital. Rangers and fellow hunters scoured the area, searching for a dangerous, wounded grizzly bear, likely a male, potentially 400 pounds, and injured and dangerous. They closed off part of the area for several days, but never found the animal that attacked Alan. Jeez, what do you guys think about that bear attack? You know, it's really concerning when a bear gets injured, just how dangerous they can be at that time. Because all of a sudden they're not able to forage as easily for their natural food sources, so they're even more likely to attack a human, who generally is an easy target, although they try to avoid them in most cases. And this isn't the first attack where someone was out in the woods and they smelled something nasty or rank like a dead carcass, and not long after that, a bear attacks. This could happen with both black bears and grizzlies. So whatever territory you might be in, you really have to keep that in mind. If you smell something nasty, to be cautious and, in my opinion, start walking back from where you came and don't cross the area. The area I live in seldom has bears. However, they are seen on rare occasions, but usually I'm out hiking with a friend, but it's not always the case. It's interesting how this guy had a 10mm Glock, which I know is one of the favored rounds to use against grizzly bears, because they are convenient in the case where you can get several rounds off, perhaps more effectively than something like a .44 Magnum or something of a heavier load. But what do you guys think about this attack? What do you think Alan should have done differently in this situation to avoid it? I really am unaware as to how far apart he was from his friends, but they really did split up some. They could have been miles apart. But of course, if they were traveling in a group of 2, this attack might have never happened. But a grizzly and its kill is really hard to separate, so I really wouldn't rule that out nonetheless. But I'm curious what you guys have to say in the comments below about this bear attack. And again, I'd like to thank my patrons and channel members for making these videos possible. So I'm going to start having this little banner up up on the screen at the end of my videos to recognize you guys. It really does mean the world to me to be able to write these stories and share them with you guys and go over these incidents and things like that. It's a very rewarding thing. And to think that there are people out there who are willing to support me in these endeavors is really just a dream come true. So thank you for your support, and there are links in the description below. But I'm already working on another bear attack story, so I will talk to you ladies and gentlemen soon with more chilling tales from the Iceman.